Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have just an inspiring and empowering show coming right up with special guest Benjamin Decker, and he's here today to share with us his new book, Practical Meditation for Beginners, 10 Days to a Happier, Calmer You. Who couldn't use more of that? Now, Benjamin is a social activist, meditation teacher, and entrepreneur. His love for meditation and the spiritual teachings of ancient traditions goes back to his childhood. Ever the idealist and enthusiastic learner, his enthusiasm for meditation has won him praise by Conscious Lifestyle magazine as one of the world's leading meditation teachers, and Well Plus Good as the superstar meditation instructor. Ben has shared his love for meditation with thousands. His work is universal, well-rounded, and rooted in ancient wisdom for the modern times. So let's welcome to the show, Benjamin Decker.
Thanks so much for having me, Marianne.
What a pleasure it is to have you here. And gosh, I just loved your book. I thought it was such a great accomplishment as far as getting people from kind of feeling kind of like, I don't know about meditating to where they're feeling a little bit more confident.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm really happy with the final product. Had such a great experience working with the publisher. Had great editors who really held me to a very high standard of readability, as well as, really checking any kind of scientific or religious or historical facts that I mentioned, just to keep it all really, really accurate, which was a really cool experience.
Well, it has a very nice flow, and I love the subtitle, it's 10 Days to a Happier, Calmer You. And so I've got to ask, how did you get into the whole path of mindfulness and that inner self-reflection?
When I grew up, I had a couple interesting conditions. I was raised by a woman named Karma. My beautiful mother's name is Karma. And so there was this concept of karma that was just introduced into my mind really, really young because people were asking about my mother's name. And my father was a direct descendant of a founding family of the Mormon Church. So we were in this Mormon household. I had 4 brothers, 2 older brothers and 2 younger brothers. And in the Mormon tradition, there's a lot of contemplation, a lot of meditation. And so that sort of paired with this idea of karma and the fact that I had such a big family set me up to really ask big questions about eternity and about spirituality and about my place in all of that,
Well, it's interesting when we make that dive into, where do we fit into the cosmos and how do I fit in this big universe? Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. And I felt that your book gave people, bite-sized, just kind of opportunities to dive into that practice without feeling overwhelmed.
Thank you. Yeah, the idea was based on this concept where I've studied so many different traditions, so many different practices over the years. And, of course, I mentioned my childhood. That brought me into deep studies of different religions and different practices over the years. And going through all of that, I really had to go through a lot of training to learn each one of those different things in there. It's 10 days to a happier, calmer you because it's 10 techniques, as you know. You've seen it. The 10 techniques, I was deliberating the different ways we could present them. One way we could present them was based on their benefits. If you're looking for this kind of benefit, you can try this kind of meditation. But what it came down to was this idea that if we walk someone through 10 very simple, basic meditations, it'll sort of be a multifaceted experience for them. And there's, of course, a little bit of a survey approach in there, too, where we have the journal prompts And the final chapter is on developing your new practice out in your own life based on, your journal entries throughout the week, based on your experience of those 10 practices.
Well, it makes it really easy for people to get very involved in their practice, and I felt it was a great guide for that. When you started to decide kind of like, this is what we're going to start with, was it really was it easy for you, or did it take a little while to put it all together?
I had such great support from my publisher. I had such an amazing editor. My editor's name is Camille Hayes. Beautiful woman, great mind, great writer, and she kept me on point, and she's a meditator, and so she was really familiar with all of it and really was very instrumental in determining the overall outline of the book, the general concept for the book, and she was the one that really kept me on a standard where it needed to be majorly readable and workable. We had this joke going through the writing process where it wasn't practical meditation for dummies, it's practical meditation for beginners. So it's this idea where we were talking to smart people. Our audience is a smart audience that just wants to know the good stuff, that wants to know how to do it, why to do it, the correct ways, the variations, that kind of thing.
Well, it really is easy to start. And I love how you start with the breath, because I know when I meditate, even to this day, I have to really focus on my breathing so I'm not, kind of taking it to a place where it's not beneficial for my practice.
Definitely. The breath awareness is something so extraordinarily powerful because the breath is one of the only operations in the whole body where it will happen automatically, but you can also very actively, consciously control it. So it's sort of this bridge between the conscious mind and the automatic functioning of the body. So when you bring the awareness to that special bridge between the conscious and the unconscious aspects of the body and of the self, you're surfing this line where you start to become more aware of the unconscious happenings, which is, of course, mostly thought. You become that much more aware. I'm sure in your practice you become that much more aware of even how a thought can interrupt the breath. You'll notice a thought arose in your mind and a sensation arose somewhere in the body and the breath stopped for a moment. You'll notice how different thoughts will interact with the breath. Different thoughts will interact throughout the nervous system. We don't just have thoughts in our brain. Thoughts occur through the entire nervous system. And so a thought will happen in our brain, but also will have a sensation arise, like maybe through our left hand. And so the breath awareness especially paired with a very relaxed stillness, can actually take someone into very deep ideas. When you're going into that idea between the conscious and the unconscious aspects of the self, you're going super existential, and you're going into like your very nature and the patterns of your own nature. And it's that ancient Greek aphorism, know thyself. Know thyself. Know what you've got going on. Know what you're dealing with right now. Know what your kind of thought habits are.
Do you find that when you are teaching new students that sometimes they might become a little fearful of getting too deep in their practice because of what might show up?
Oh, yes. I can totally see why, and that's actually really common. I'm glad you mentioned that. That is really common. People will have insecurities about fear thoughts, about even trauma or challenging memories. The idea is that in meditation you breathe through it. You breathe through what's going on. You have, in my book there's a chapter on sitting with difficult emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea with the meditation of sitting with difficult emotions is that you are creating a moment of peace. Most of us have a couple minutes a day where we can, sit by ourselves. I have a lot of clients that actually sit in the bathroom and meditate in the bathroom. They're like, hey, I can lock the door. No one's going to bother me in there. And the idea is you create your peaceful moment and you allow those challenges to come up because of that peaceful, safe space. It's like having the home court advantage to approach those deeper challenges. But I think that you're right. I think a lot of people have insecurity or resistance to their shadow, and the hidden, less beautiful, less comfortable parts of their minds.
Yeah, and what will appear if they, just completely give in to the meditation practice, I could see where that would be kind of sometimes a scary thing, but it's such a beautiful, the way you have it outlined in your book, it's such a beautiful journey.
I tried to set it up so that it was very conscious, so that throughout the process, you are totally present for it. There's this idea in meditation where we talk about spontaneous enlightenment experiences, where someone will have almost like a psychedelic experience just from meditation. And I think that that's kind of like what you're touching on now, where you're saying, there's those deeper places where we don't normally operate, and I think that it's wise to have a little bit of a healthy sense of awareness of the power of that, because it's accessing the deep parts of our hearts and deep parts of our minds is something that it really is the road less traveled,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something where we're in a world right now where, hey, we could really use more people going deeper. We could really use a larger percentage of the population understanding what their dissonance is about and what their frustrations are about, and confronting their own prejudices. We're in a world where that is sorely, sorely needed, And I tried to present it in a way where no one was being called out. Everyone's included. Everyone's in on this. And it's based on my spiritual fundamental belief that we are all exactly the same. Our personalities are different, and our circumstances are different, and our free will, of course, sets us up to be doing all kinds of different things. But, the part of you that's listening to me and the part of me that's listening to you, and there's that interplay between us, it's the same. Not only are we equals, deeper than your body, deeper than your mind, deeper than your personality, not only are we equals, we're the same. And in Buddhism, there's this concept of unity consciousness where there's one life and infinite points of view. And so I don't go super deep into some of these more challenging concepts in this book because I didn't write an esoteric book. I wrote a very practical book. I wrote a book that was standing on the foundation of those more advanced metaphysical or esoteric principles, but really in a way where I'm assuming that the person picking up that book is ready to begin to take their journey. And a self-guided journey. In the mystical traditions, when you're initiated into a special practice, you are the very first initiator is your own soul. It's not a priest or a rabbi or a sage or a guru. It's your own soul that you have to confront, and your own soul has to say, you know what, we're going to take this life to the next level. We're going to take our own lives that much more seriously. We're going to see things as they are, even if they're not pretty, even if they're scary, and we are going to be there for it. We're going to be present for this life. We're going to begin to allow our soul and our physical body to begin to have this new kind of interplay where we allow our animal nature, our physical body, or our monkey mind to hand over control to our higher ideals or our soul. And so this idea is ending with loving kindness is basically what I was going to say. The 10th day is loving kindness, where you're embracing compassion for yourself and for all living beings.
I think that's such a beautiful place that you end on day 10, because, gosh, you're so right. We could use so much more loving kindness in this world, and really starting with ourselves, because a lot of times people are, when they have these angst and these anxieties, it feels like it's starting within. It's this internal conflict that they have going on.
Absolutely. I mean, I can speak for myself that if I look, there are issues that we have with each other and with our colleagues and everything that are very real and need to be addressed. But also, every single situation, every single disconnect, or every single challenge, for me, I know that when I look within, I am hard on myself. I'm hard on myself for how I look, for how my website looks, for the words that I say, making sure that I'm impeccable and perfect with all my facts, making sure that my delivery is excellent and top-notch and pristine. And I grew up in working in the entertainment industry. I was a model and an actor when I was a kid, and that really did something to my conditioning, where I had to perform and I had to audition, and I faced extraordinary amounts of rejection. And I was also, being raised Mormon and experiencing such an unusual combination of going to Mormon church, believing that we were Christian, and believing that we were doing what we were supposed to be doing, that I was in the place I was supposed to be, and then going to public schools, and at schools, the other Christian kids didn't even believe that Mormons were Christian. They would tell us, oh, Mormons practice witchcraft, Mormons are evil. And I was in this dichotomy where I was like, wow, what's even going on? Who's right here? What's true? What even is true about any of this? Is there something wrong with me? And that internalized insecurity, and when we watch when we watch TV and we see these people with beautiful hair and makeup, and they've got these great healthy bodies, and they look like Greek gods and goddesses, and their teeth look like they were photoshopped on, it's hard not to feel imperfect or not good enough. And so that's why I think that what you're saying is exactly right. We have to start with that loving kindness for ourselves, so that we can begin to breathe into it and feel it in our bodies and create that field of loving kindness before we even start to bring to mind another person and say, I'm bringing my relationship with you is built on the foundation that I respect myself.
I think that's so beautiful, and it's easy to see why so many people are attracted to what it is you have to say, your meditations and your practice, because of the energy that you bring to it. It's reflected in your book, on your website, in your videos that you have listed there. I've watched quite a few, and you can really see your heart through them, which I think is a real testament to you as a person and a soul.
Well, thank you so much for that. I so appreciate those words.
Oh, of course.
There's that idea that you can only see in others what is true about yourself, and that's a really interesting concept, because in neuroscience, it evokes this concept of the mirror neurons, where, you and I are strangers walking down the street, and we cross paths, and we happen to make eye contact, and you smile at me, and I automatically smile back, It's our impulse to naturally mirror what's going on. Or, walking down the street and someone scowls at you, and you feel that mirror. You feel the mirror of, oh, you want to scowl too. You feel that same kind of thing, And so when I hear you say that you can see my heart through that, it's because of your connection, I believe, your connection to your heart, that you can even look at me and say, oh, that guy's in his heart zone. That guy's connected to his heart. He lives out of his heart because of the way you so passionately live from your heart.
Aw, you're going to make me cry. Oh, my goodness. Well, and, I have really enjoyed your book, Practical Meditation for Beginners. And I think it's, when I was starting to meditate, if I had a book like this, it would have helped me tremendously, because I have a monkey mind, and my little monkey mind was taken off going, are we meditating yet? Is it happening? All these questions. When you have new students that come to you, what is the number one thing that they see that they struggle with in meditation?
I would say there's a few very common things, but I would say number one really is, it's actually surprisingly deep. It's, there's the common question of, am I even doing this right? How should I sit? How should I even do it? Do I let my mind wander? What do I focus on? What's the difference between using a mantra and doing breath awareness? There's those kind of basic questions. But the number one thing you actually touched on earlier, the number one thing is the confrontation of the self. The number one thing really is the acceptance of things as they are right now. And when you go into meditation, and we're in a world where there are extraordinary war crimes happening all over the planet, and we're finding that institutions that we've trusted for generations are corrupted, and our food supplies corrupted, and our air quality is compromised, and we have this warm blanket of exhaust that we've surrounded the entire planet with that's causing all kinds of unusual chemical reactions in the weather and in the acidity levels of bodies of water, and entire species are dying. We've had more extinctions in the last 10 years than in the last 100 years, and so looking at the reality of this moment right now, which is what meditation is, allowing this moment to dawn on you and accepting it for what it is, that's the number one challenge. The number one challenge is to say, wow, I know so much more than my mother ever knew. I know so much more than my grandparents ever knew about what is happening in this world right now, and I can't even continue living the same way. It's impossible because I know too much. And so we're confronted with this possibility. On one hand, it's a beautiful, infinite, creative possibility that we have. But on the other hand, it is this challenge to do something differently. And I would say that's the real number one challenge right there, is what you end up confronting in meditation.
Mm-hmm. Looking at what can we do because it's interesting when we connect with, people or animals or environment or whatever the case is, we can't look at that and then say all of this is okay. We have to become, part of the solution.
Exactly. And this idea that we really are connected, that's what I love so much about the loving kindness meditation, is that you can experience something that you can't intellectually. Processing something intellectually is different than the visceral experience of it. And going into the real meditation, that's what I love about meditation, because you're using these dormant forces within yourself, especially a loving kindness meditation. You're wielding the magical energy of love, which I believe is sacred, divine energy. One of my favorite quotes is, "There's no religion higher than truth." And I would say, I would tweak that and say, there's no religion higher than love. And when we can access that love quality in us, we have miraculous levels of generosity. We have miraculous kinds of forgiveness that we can experience. And by giving ourselves the opportunity to really go there, love does something to the mind that nothing else can do. Love will give you a new idea where no one gets hurt. Love will show you a solution to any problem that can happen in a way where no one gets hurt. And that's something only love can do.
That's so beautiful. And it's so true. I mean, when we look at the example of the person walking down the street with a frown on their face, making the choice to smile at that person because maybe that's the only smile they'll get all day long. I mean, we don't know what another person goes through. You look at offering loving kindness to others, what a huge impact that makes.
There's that exercise of a mindful walking, loving kindness meditation. So you go for a walk and you offer that loving kindness to anyone you see, and it's telepathic. We are all so much more telepathic than we realize. We go around in the streets, and if you have a spark in your smile, if you have that little sparkle of sincerity in that smile that you give someone. I was walking down, I live in West Hollywood, California. I was walking down the street the other day, and there was this woman in headphones, and she looked at me, and she gave me kind of one of those fake smiles. You know what I mean? Kind of like, I'm smiling just because I'm supposed to smile, And it felt kind of weird. And I was so aware energetically. I was on one of my little West Hollywood City mindful walk meditations, and I just was like, oh, that was kind of interesting. That was kind of like an interesting energy. And then another woman was walking, and she smiled at me, and I just felt such bright energy from her. And I was like, that woman sent happiness out with that smile, whereas the other woman, it was like an outside-in smile. You know what I mean? Where it was like, I'm choosing to smile because I think I'm supposed to right now, versus I'm smiling because I am happy right now, and I'm sharing my happiness in this moment with whoever's around.
Yeah, and those are so visible, and you can feel them. And just like as you're explaining, you can totally feel what's genuine and what is maybe someone is just kind of struggling to get a smile together, or maybe they feel like they're on the should list. I should smile,
Right. Mm-hmm. The should list. I haven't even heard that before. I like that. The should list. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, and so, gosh, Benjamin, I mean, we could talk for hours. I feel that you're such an inspiration, and I really have enjoyed not only your book, Practical Meditation for Beginners, but also what you have available on your website and the time we've been able to spend together. Where can our listeners connect with you and become part of your community?
Well, I am the Director of Education for the Institute for Transformational Thinking, and I've partnered with a wonderful, amazing mentor friend of mine. Her name is Ora Nadrich, and she's the founder and president of the Institute, and we are combining forces to be able to offer online courses, online certification programs, and in-person day-long retreats, weekend retreats, half-day events, and that kind of thing. And so the two places where I am always putting up new work, new content, and new opportunities for people to experience the benefits of meditation and transformational thinking would be on my personal website, which is benjaminwdecker.com, and through the Institute, which is theift.org, theift.org, the Institute for Transformational Thinking.
Oh, that is fabulous. We'll make sure to have both of them listed here. And we actually have talked with Ora in the past, and what a dynamo she is. She's just such an inspiration as well. So it's so nice to hear that the two of you, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And it's so great that the two of you have partnered to do this. I mean, so I can only imagine how this is all coming together and what impact it's going to make on people's lives. Well, Benjamin, I know that, and also I know you have an app because I've downloaded it and I love it. So
yeah.
I know they can get that from your website, right?
Yes, on my website, it's the Unplugged Guided Meditation app.
Oh, perfect. Well, Benjamin, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was great to connect with you. I love what you're doing. I love what you're sending out into the world. Keep it up. It's beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Benjamin. You have made my day. It's been such a joy to spend this time with you and, of course, to talk about your book, Practical Meditation for Beginners, 10 Days to Happier You. Don't forget you can connect with Ben at his website, bendeckermeditation.com. Make sure to join him on social media, be part of his community, and of course, go ahead and pick up his book, Practical Meditation for Beginners. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.